Shalom, family. You are now tuned in to TMHC TV, where here it's about family, knowledge, love, and most of all, respect. I'm your host, Gettiing Yasharala, and I have my co-host here, D-Red, the Blue Collar Scholar. We have a special guest in the building of Do the Knowledge Radio. The guest is Knowledge Born Allah. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn the show over to my co-host, D-Red, and we're going to go on and jump right on into it, family. Okay, D-Red, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm here.
go and just introduce yourself to the people, and then we bring in Knowledge Born Allah so we can get on with the interview.
Okay. It's your boy D Red, aka man, the blue collar scholar, man. I know y'all don't even want to hear me talk right now, man. Y'all want to hear the man, the myth, the legend. You know what I'm saying? My homie. You know what I'm saying? Good dude. You know what I'm saying? Smart dude. You know what I'm saying? Love his people type dude. I mean, y'all want to hear from the man. Knowledge born Allah. Knowledge, you there?
Hey, peace, brother D Red, man. Peace to the brother Gadiah. Shalom, brother. My name is Knowledge Born Allah. I'm the host and founder of Do the Knowledge Radio, the place where knowledge is born. So I'm definitely honored and privileged to have the opportunity to spend some time with my family. You know, the shoe for me been on the other foot for a long time where I bring guests on, interview guests, and allow people to do presentations. So it's definitely an honor when somebody thinks enough of you to open their doors up to you to be able to reciprocate. So I'm definitely honored to be here.
All right, man. Well, we want to go off into it, man. Tell us about yourself, man. Tell us about your history. You know what I mean? Again, me and you talk a little bit off air, so I probably know, but we talk about for the people, man. You know what I mean? You know, we everybody know you. We all know most of the people all over the country, all over the world know you. But you know what I mean? They know you, like you said, as the host. You know what I'm saying? So break down who you are for the people, a little bit about your history.
Yeah, most definitely. And if it wasn't for you, D Red, I wouldn't be doing, giving out this kind of information. You know what I'm saying? So that for the family who listening, we got a kinship, we got a close relationship. So I respect the brother uh, tremendously. So I give out some information. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, in 1980. So. Uh, the funny thing about that is, I was conceived in the 70s and born in the 80s. That's a funny story right there. Uh, my mother and my father, to me, are the two greatest human beings on the planet. They have both transitioned, so uh, they were two of the greatest human beings I ever known on the planet, and now, they have ascended to the realm of the ancestors. So peace and honor to them. I am the fourth child of seven children, uh, exactly in the middle, three older and three younger. And, I got the middle child syndrome. So if there's any middle children that's out there, uh, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? We got our own army. You're not the oldest, you're not the youngest, you're definitely in the middle. You see what I'm saying? So uh, that's that foundation and glue that holds the family together. So that's been my assignment and role throughout life, and also the mediator between it's almost like two generations. You got uh, my older brothers and sisters who all in the 70s. You see what I'm saying? And then you got my younger brothers and sisters all in the 80s. So me right there, uh, directly in the middle, having that responsibility of bridging the gap between the two. So that's more so of my life, being a bridge builder. I was born a Muslim uh, 36 years ago. Born in, my family my mother dealt with Islam, my mother and father dealt with Islam at that time. And, I was born an Arabic speaking Muslim in North New Jersey. As a matter of fact, I had to learn the English language in order to go to kindergarten. So along with learning the English language at home, I learned everything that I needed to learn all the way up until the 5th grade. So imagine my surprise the first day I go to kindergarten, mind you, with a suit and tie on and a briefcase, going to school because in my family, education was something that my mother took very serious. So I'm showing up to kindergarten, uh, knowing everything that I needed to know all the way up to the 5th grade. And I had to take a test in order to get into kindergarten because, like I said, I was conceived in the 70s and born in the 80s, but I was also born 3 months premature. So with that, that's a lot of story within itself. I won't get all the way into it. It's just there were some challenges that were surrounding my birth, and uh, me having the mother that I had. Uh, a mother's love is something that can help you overcome all obstacles. So, that was I'm in New Jersey history as being one of the only children who was born 3 months premature in 1980 with no birth defects. So I spent a year in the hospital, hooked up to an incubator, and there was some other things that happened along that process. But throughout that time, the love of my mother allowed me to be who I am today. So the knowledge of my father and the love of my mother was a very quintessential part of my development. And my father taught my mother, and he was a great example to my mother, and my mother reflected that light in that regard to uh, who she became. So that combination is something great, and as a product of my mother's heightened spiritual awareness and my father's heightened spiritual awareness and their community outreach work, I was born. So uh, the importance of family, like I heard the brother say at the beginning of the show, is the foundation in the core of who we are uh, as African people. And I use the term African, and I understand that some people don't align with it. Uh, but I'm using it as a point of reference. So if it doesn't apply to you, then I'm not talking about you. But in the spirit, in the tradition of African people, family is who we are, and that's the first thing that our enemies have attacked and continue to attack and seem to destroy. Because if they can control your household, then they control your life. They control your lineage. They control your legacy. So my mother was not of the opinion of allowing anybody to control our narrative, our legacy, or anything involving our family. So uh, she was a guardian at the gate, so to speak. Like if you look in Genesis, when they were exiled from the Garden of Eden, they had a cherubim with a flaming sword that would turn in all directions. That was my mother, with that earnest duty of ensuring that we had everything that was proper. So uh, going forward with that, uh, back to the story I was saying, imagine my surprise. I show up to kindergarten, prepared to learn. And a teacher is something that we held in true regard because we were taught before we went to school. So the role of a teacher, the role of an educator, the role of a guide, the role of one who would give instruction is something that we coveted and held in high esteem. So when I got there, I saw children playing with blocks and all of these things that I saw as childish. This is a 5-year old perception. Saying, this child, these things, I was prepared, writing in cursive already and stuff like that. And what I learned is that in that experience and in that environment, education was not a priority for African children. So the educators in the system did not care whether or not we were educated. They cared if we were obedient, and uh, intelligence was not celebrated unless it was coming from like a one-way type of communication situation where the teacher would disseminate information to us and then we would just regurgitate it. You see what I'm saying? So I was very naive to that. And from that point on, I began to rebel against the system of education because it wasn't something that was in the best interest to me, from my perception, for African people. So give me 1 second, bro.
Okay, family, something is going on, but right now we are having an interview with the host and the founder of Do the Knowledge Radio, the Knowledge Born Allah. He's giving you the inside scoop about himself. He's usually the one that's doing the interviews, and today we got him on the show and we giving him an interview. So we're gonna be patient with the brother. We all got family, we all got children, and we still try to be out here and do the work for the community. So D Red, you want to add any on to that while he's taking care of the family?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he going in, man. The brother going in. I mean, you got to look at it from the standpoint of this brother's giving you this. Is an exclusive right now. You know what I mean? The brother giving us in-depth history to his background, his upbringing, where he come from, who he is as a person, some of the trials and some of the things that he's seen growing up to get him to the point where he is today. I mean, this is powerful. You know what I mean? Uh, Getting a better understanding of one of our brothers, one of our dear brothers, who does good work for the people, and we need more brothers like him. Really, you know what I mean? We really need more brothers like him, and that's what made me want, me and him talk offline, and so it made me feel like that the people need to know who this brother really is, and what I mean, knowing his work is one thing, but knowing the person and being able to connect with the person and a person of good character, because that's what's missing uh, in this so-called conscious community is people of good character. You know what I mean? And when you got a brother like this that got impeccable character, is uh, this is somebody that the people need to know more about.
I would agree. I would agree. We have a lot of brothers and sisters out here that's putting the work in and doing a lot for the community or within the community. And a lot of times they get overlooked and we don't get a chance to really get to know them. We just know the characters and the qualities in which they possess. And it's time that we start recognizing them, why they here and as they doing the work. I don't know if the brother's back in, but if you're back in, brother Knowledge, you can come on back in and finish where you left off.
Yeah, I apologize. I have a wife and 4 children. And sometimes it just goes. It goes down where you gotta restore order. you gotta restore, you gotta restore order, brother.
Okay, we all got families, man. We wasn't even tripping. We just kind of started laughing like we all been there.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause I got my children running around the house too, so I know how that is.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the words. Uh, that's a better a thing that it is missing. Because it didn't used to be something that was in question, whether or not your character uh, had to be called to account, or in question. Uh, the Bible says, y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. A good name is better than gold, silver and gold. So with that type of thing, that becomes a responsibility, and a system of accountability. Whereas that your character is something that survives you. You know, your good works, your deeds, all of these things may survive you. If it was able to make an impact in someone's life other than your own, that can continue on. But how people think about you, when they think about you, what do they say? That's something that's eternal, because that gets spread down, from generation to generation. So when I'm a father, so when they speak about me, well, let me tell you about your grandfather. Let me tell you about your great grandfather. It becomes a legacy. So if you have not taken an opportunity to, develop yourself and protect your character and your good name, then you should invest in that. To the people that are listening, because these things are things that survive you, for generations and generations. What story is the one that they will tell about you? So I definitely, thank you for this opportunity to be able to, participate and tell a part of my story, because it kind of forces me to, look at myself and see, some of the things that was going on. So uh, I'm in this educational system, you know, in kindergarten, and they want you to take naps, and they want you to just color, and all of this stuff. And uh, with the household that I came from, we were already prepared. So instead of them taking me out of that classroom and putting me up, say like the second or the third grade, they told my mother that they were going to keep me in kindergarten. I was already reading on the fourth grade level at kindergarten. Because of that, premature birth, they were saying that I was going to have learning disabilities and blah, 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 and I was going to need constant supervision. And this is 1980. So, they had just really broke the ground in regards to, special education and all of that. So, you know, uh, they would say, I was going to have all of these challenges based off of what they saw in white children, to, just to be honest. So the comparison that's there. So because it happened to some white children, it had happened to me. You see what I'm saying? Or anybody else who was born uh, premature. So going into that classroom and seeing that they were not going to uh, put me in a place with my peers because of my age, then the only thing that's left to do in that situation is to rebel. So uh, for the parents that are listening, for your children, if you know your children, uh, if you have no choice but to send them to the public school system, be an advocate for your child, throughout that education process. I have 4 children. My oldest is about to be 18 in November. So every facet of his school process, I was there. My daughter, she's 14. Every part of that school process, and my youngest two, they're 5 and 2 years old. Every aspect of their education, every aspect of their learning process, you know, I'm there involved. You see what I'm saying? So um, be advocates. You know, until you're in a situation to where which they can go to a co-op, like a homeschool co-op or African Senate school, then that should be the guiding, process. You decide your child's education. The education system doesn't decide it for your child. Because if it's up to them, all of our children would be on Ritalin or Hadol or Paxil or in the penitentiary. The penitentiary would be teaching our children. So, with all of these maladies that are going on and all of these stopovers, you have to be ever watchful over what our children are learning and who they're learning it from. So uh, I was in a situation in the public school system where I rebelled. So, what rebellion looks like. It might be something big that's in your mind, but as a child, you just rebel. I would write my name, in cursive, and they would mark it wrong. So they would tell me, no, you're supposed to trace the lines and all of these things. They clearly see that I was advanced, and instead of them rewarding that advancement, they, took it as a sign or a threat. So I was already, marked as a child as somebody who had a problem with authority. You know, so this is what happens in the mind of a young African man in the class where he's perceived as a threat. So they wanted to see a threat, I would show them. So I got suspended from kindergarten all the way until I left school. So even in those classes where, because there were times throughout my public education where which, the teachers that I had uh, really cared and they were very genuine. So I did respect that interaction, and it was more so of the people than more so of the education. Uh, I got dumber in school as opposed to getting smarter. So uh, you know, uh, my life is an example of being a product of the public school system. Some people call it the public food system, and I tend to agree because the goals, aims, and objectives are for, at least as far as we're concerned, to turn our children into workers. You know, uh, to be laborers on somebody else's job. Laborers in building someone else's dream and vision. Uh, as opposed to our open enemy and how they educate their children and they prepare them for life. We prepare our children for work, being dependent upon someone else to earn a living and to make a way instead of teaching us ancestrally how we made our own way. So, you know, there's a conflict that comes in there. And that's something that we have to be mindful of. So throughout my time in the public school system, it was nothing but rebellion. Aside from those times where I identified with the teachers who lived in our community, that was another factor. And seeing that change, the distinct change between uh, our teachers or people who lived in our community versus when the teachers didn't live in our community and their commute was an hour and a half altogether, 45 minutes, into the school. So they would come into the school to see the animals because this is how they viewed us in the system, in the school system. We had some of the worst we had some of the worst school systems, period. If y'all saw that movie Lean on Me back in the day, that was Patterson. You see what I'm saying? So that was Patterson. I'm from North. You see what I'm saying? So North
Yeah,
school
yeah.
system and Patterson school system, it was identical. You see what I'm saying? Like, and then there was a point to where I could go to no school system in the district. You see what I'm saying? Like I was banned from every school. So what happened was I went to military school, and me going into military school gave me an opportunity to be away from the environment that I was in and see something that was different. So I was, living military lifestyle, barracks, uniforms, marching, all of those things. Even though I was exposed to some of those things, my connection coming up in Islam, whether it be the Nation of Islam or any of the other departments. So drilling, doing stuff with the junior FOI, and all of that gave me a sense. But just being in that space, uh, I was able to decide what I was going to do with my life. So I began teaching in that environment. So just like the public school education experience, uh, instead of intelligence being celebrated, again in that military environment, especially for a young black male, intelligence is seen as a threat because uh, in the highest level of conformity, you know, to conform and to be something other than yourself. That's exactly what you learn to be in the military. They give you a military mind. So that mind is something that is foreign to you that you accept during high levels of duress and total control models, which are implemented to separate you from your African mind. So you can't think your own thoughts. You have to think the thoughts that they give you, and they come and check on you every day. They ask you how we doing, not how you're doing, because they don't care about how you're doing. So when they want to hear confirmation in regards to how you're able to take a command, you see, and execute. So it's the same regard with the public school system in regards to that same type of interface. So, leaving, Newark, New Jersey and going to this military environment gave me an opportunity to be able to implement uh, certain teaching and key learning points that, kind of started me on my journey in regards to who I am today. So that led me to being able to teach, to debate, you know what I mean, to be able to learn how to articulate points, all of that within that space and in that time frame. So then, I came back home after I graduated. So I was done with high school at 16. I believe Dr. Martin Luther King was done with high school around the same age. So, through that military school, I was able to do that. So I came back home, and I went and took my SATs, and I did pretty good on the SATs. But I was like, I don't know nothing about college. I wouldn't be able to pay for it. You know what I mean? So, uh, my life just continued. And after that, I went into the military because the military was saying that they was going to pay for college or whatever. So I went into the military, and I was in the military for about almost 17 years. And then I retired from the military. But in that, time uh, in the military, going all of these different places, and particularly war, you know, now war was something that brought another individual out. So there's a lot of people that's out here uh, that say that they are revolutionaries, and they're ready for war, and to experience war for about 5 years of my life, uh, about 60 months, almost 60 months. War was a different interface. And you get to see your open enemy at war with your open enemy at war and experience that. You see what I'm saying? Uh, for some people, where we lived in these projects, it's war. It's a war zone. But if you go from where I'm from North, you go from North to Baghdad, that's a different level of engagement in war. So I was in Baghdad, I was in Fallujah, I was in Najaf, I was inside the city, I was in Tikrit, all of these different places uh, out there in war. I was in war when they caught Saddam. You see what I'm saying? And so Iraq, Afghanistan, all of that uh, hoopla, you know. So through that interface in the military, and adding that with a cultural type of experience, because I grew up in a culture. You know, we grew up in African culture in the home, uh, despite whatever spiritual inclination we align with. Uh, we did the church, the mosque, we did whatever what was going on, but we did it as an experiment. So whatever we wanted to try, uh, my mother gave us that freedom to try. So it wasn't something that she pushed on us. But we did, all of that experimenting with, different ways of life, and that's life. You get different experiences, and you draw up from some total of those experiences who you're going to be. And you know, for every organization, almost every religious group that's out there, you name it, I've been a part. So uh, there's a lot that goes on in that story. Uh, I was in the New Black Panther Party. Uh, I dealt with the Moore Science Temple, the Wabians, the Nation of God's Nurse, the Nation of Islam. Uh, everybody that's out there. I used to go to One West back in the day before I went to the military. So I used to go, up there for classes, and I think it was like '97. Uh, Killer Priest was there. Nas was there. You see what I'm saying? It was a time. You never know who you ran into anywhere. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of people that's out with a lot of information, uh, and I respect them all. I'm not one of the brothers who got to have a argument or a fight or a debate about something that someone else believes. They believe it. So there's a life that's attached to the belief. So, another thing that the brother said is most of all respect. So respect for your fellow brother and sister for the walk in life and the travel that they made. So if it's Christianity, if it's Islam, if it's Judaism, if it's Hebrew Israelites, if it's Moors, if it's Kemetic, whatever that interface is that reforms your character, that's transformative in your life, is your truth. You hold on to that truth because your life is connected to that truth. Your legacy, your lineage is connected to that truth. So you ain't got to be out, fighting with somebody to prove it. The best proof that you can be is an example. So if you are an ambassador for a particular way of life or spiritual inclination, just be an example. That's what's attractive. What's not attractive is this bickering, fussing, fighting, and all of this. If we the first people on the planet, then we made everything. There's nothing to argue about. Uh, but it also says in the Bible, man sharpens man and steel sharpens steel. So, people may come together and have that interface uh, as long as it's something that's edifying, dualistically. So if we want to have a discussion uh, back and forth, and we're going to share ideas, I'm going to come from my vantage point, you come from your vantage point. If it's edifying for us at the end and it's helping us reach a particular goal, then that's fine. But if it's not, then it's a waste of oxygen and a waste of carbon dioxide. So that's really it. Uh, so looking at that and looking, at my life in that experience, is so many life experiences that came about, which led me to, uh, the conscious community. And I've been around the conscious community since the '90s. Yeah, since the '90s, the end of the '90s. And what I found in the conscious community, I don't use the term so-called conscious community because I was in the conscious community when it was a community. When you look at what a community is and what the community provides you is with an opportunity where which everything that you need you can find in that community. So when it was a community, what you would find is you would have situations where which commercial situations were set up to where people had the opportunity to be able to interface with one another, and anything that you needed to be able to sustain yourself. But also, if you had something in trade, you were able to eat in that environment. So, where they would have lectures, they would have brothers and sisters come up. Anybody who had a skill, anybody who had a talent, anybody who had something of worth or value or products and services to offer the community, they gave them an opportunity to speak before the lecture began. So you would have people that would come up and say, hey, I do hair, hey, I fix cable, hey, I teach martial arts, hey, I do readings, whatever your talent or your skill was, people would come to you now based off of that experience. People would call you, you would get jobs, you would be able to do whatever you needed to do based off of that skill set, but also based off of that opportunity to present those skills to the people. So, when you look at that, on top of coming someplace to get information, it was a networking situation, which after led to uh, certain things being able to take place and transact. That happens within the community. If you look at these other communities, they don't go outside of their community for anything, and if they do, it's very rare. So they recognize that it's set up in a manner in which all of the skilled labor, all these things that are necessary in order for us to sustain ourselves, exist within our people. So before integration, that was the reality. So just like there's a time where integration came in and destroyed the moral fabric and worth of what we see in one another, there's a time that happened that there was a golden era in the conscious community where it was thriving and people were growing and all kinds of things were transacting outside of the lecture circuit. After 2009, after the election of Barack Obama in these last 8 years, anybody who had any kind of contact with this conscious community, I apologize, because you missed an opportunity where, from, the 90s on up to 2009, there was another type of situation. So once it changed, and, we've seen the change coming. There's a lot of people who were teachers that were great, that we know, and some that we don't know, saw that this time was coming, and they said they didn't want no parts of what was going on. So, the commercialization came, the integration came, and took something that was great, something that was powerful, something that was, some of the greatest thing that we had on, and it kind of, got infiltrated, by people who didn't see the same value. You got people today who don't see value in information unless they're saying it. So, it's kind of like a situation of disrespect to everything that came before it, and all of the process and journey that had to go, the lives that are connected to it, the life's work. You have people that sacrificed their childhood and adulthood to bring us this information, and their life to bring us this information. And then you have people who find back doors into what was sacred, and now it's mixed and tampered with. It's integrated with people who don't necessarily have our best interest at heart. So, that's that reason why, that cherubim was placed, at the gate with that flaming sword that turned in all directions, to keep the people out who are not supposed to be there. So once those cherubims are not on their guard, they're not on their post, they're not in proper position, you can be infiltrated and not know that you're infiltrated. You'll find out when the attacks happen. So, with that experience, something I physically seen was the motivation behind what we know today on my show, Student Knowledge Radio. So it's a ode to everything that came before it. every opportunity that I saw that was positive, that was fruitful, uh, that was edifying, that was honorable among our people, uh, we took it from a physical situation to a virtual situation. So, all of the greats that we were able to contact and get in contact with and have them come on the show, just like I'm doing now, and tell my story, tell their story. So to familiarize people with people that they may not have been familiar with, or they didn't have the opportunity to truly take a look at the work because so much was going on. Like we did uh, this weekend, we did a tribute to the brother Dale Jones, known as the war correspondent in the community, and the brother Steve Coakley. Uh, so you know, something like that, to be able to set aside the time to venerate some ancestors who came before you, who put in tremendous work and work until their transition point. You're able to, put that in perspective and have an opportunity to share that information with the people, to be a point of reference or a resource where people can come and get that information and go do the research on their own. Uh, Do Knowledge started August 29th, 2015. So we put that situation together, and we had our first episode with the brother Red Pill, with the brother Black Dot. Uh, who else was on? Brother Sutek was on. I believe Sinetta called in. Yeah, he did call in. Uh, it was a lot of people who came there. So this was like a birth, a rebirth of something that people hadn't seen in a long time. So it was really twofold, to be able to have a platform where people can come on and promote themselves, promote their brand, promote their products and services, and get that word out to the people, and also bring in brothers and sisters who had different information for the people. So it was a celebration of what came before. So this opportunity is a very good opportunity that we had, and we've been on for a year. We got about over 300 episodes. Like over 20,000 people have listened to the show, and our listening audience is diverse and it's going around across the United States and across the world. By the uh, permission of the Creator. So this, we're doing the Creator's work here by providing an opportunity for His greatness to be seen by way of the people. So looking at that, um, we didn't had everybody from every different type of spiritual inclination that's out there. Most of the people, so we didn't had uh, Moors, Hebrews, Muslims, Christians, uh, everybody from all of the different backgrounds, even the African spiritual traditions. So as the needs arise from the people, and also uh, the inquiry, for different subject matter, different guests arise, we provide that opportunity. But the thing for me that is most uh, beneficial is that my platform is not host centered, it's guest centered. It's centered around the guests and it's centered around the people. 95% of the people who have permanent shows on our network begin as people in the audience. The other 5% is just people who came on as guests. So providing a platform and an opportunity for people to promote themselves, and that promotion turns into something tangible, where which they can feed their family. Then I did my job. You know, uh, me and yapping is not doing anything for anybody. Uh, Me providing an opportunity to where people can add resources to their family is something that's beneficial. So it's not just a situation where you hear the host you know, much and what makes them tick and all of that, providing situations and opportunities for people to come on and promote themselves. So, it's incumbent upon the listening audience for them to call in, to the show, if they call into the show, to promote themselves. Everybody does something. Everybody has a skill, that people can benefit from all over the world. There's some transferable skills that doesn't change regardless to land, language, or geographical location. So the people need to know that. So they say, so we can have a global community. So no matter where you are, you can tap into someone and be a resource for someone, or someone be a resource for you. That's that collective work and economics that is missing. It's happening, but it's not happening to where which we all benefit from it. We're in a global economy. We're in a global market. So we need to be able to have that access wherever we are to the skilled labor that we need in order to be progressive. So uh, that is a key takeaway for me from Due to Knowledge Radio. That opportunity to be able to provide that for the people and be a facilitator where we have people come on and give out that needed information, and also that practical application that happens after. So if you have somebody that comes on the show that has a particular product or service, and somebody hears it and they get a phone call, or if they get an email, or they get somebody in the inbox, and that turns into a situation where which is amicable, and they're able to provide that service and they get compensated for it, then I did my job. So being a resource and a bridge builder, like I said, throughout the sum total of my existence, is something that just translates again further with this opportunity, with this platform, this media outlet. So hopefully I gave you something.
Now, man, you gave a lot, bro. You gave a lot. You gave a lot. I gotta ask you some questions. I'm gonna ask you some questions. I'm gonna put you on blast. I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we got a lot going
Okay.
on. You know what I'm saying? In the so-called conscious community, I always try to say I'm not in it because I don't see nothing conscious about it. So I try to, you know what I'm saying? I try to comment from an outsider's perspective as opposed to an insider's perspective, because the people I associate with, they, ain't none of them conscious. You know what I'm saying? If you want to actually, based upon the definition that black people use when we use the word conscious, most of the people I hang with ain't on that. Ain't on that. You know what I mean? And I don't really see a lot of consciousness coming from the community. Like, so what is your perspective on how leadership should be uh, attained within the conscious community? Because from my perspective, I see leadership coming from more of a top-down perspective, meaning the people are not being raised up from amongst the people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Far as the people doing the work, actually putting in work, I see more of a bourgeoisie leadership, meaning
Mm.
they don't do no work. They just read some books and then all of a sudden they're leaders. What is your take on that?
Yeah, that's something that's very horrific. Like I spoke about this ignorant time period that happened after the election of Barack Obama. For this last 8 years, this is definitely something that you would see, and it's very disgraceful for the time before it, because you were spoken for and introduced in the presence of elders. You were vouched for in this community before you even began to teach. So to me, a leader has to have a lineage. You have to have a lineage. Like I spoke about my mother and my father, so you know that they exist. We got people that speak about themselves a lot. They don't speak about their families. They don't speak about that line that they come from. that lineage that they come from. And it's the same thing in regards to people who have chosen this way of life. I was born into this way of life. I didn't choose this way of life. You see what I'm saying? So having that understanding and looking at different organizational models and all of that, it has to be something that's in you. It has to be something that connects you back to something that's greater than yourself. It can't just be, because I want people to hear me speak. You know, that's why even if you notice, you've been on the show. I don't speak a lot, personally about myself. You see, we build up this rapport and this relationship over time to where I have a trust for you. You see what I'm saying? And I got a love for you, so I can come to you and be able to tell you about myself. You see what I'm saying? But that's protected information because nowadays people take information and they run with it, and they do all kind of malady and very malicious type of things with people's information. So, to be able to say, things in a space where it's safe and it's safeguarded, it's invaluable. But back to the leadership component, having that set ability to be able to have a lineage to say, okay, uh, and qualifications and credentials. You see what I'm saying? Like you're not just gonna go to somebody and say, yeah, I do taxes. You see what I'm saying? You got to have some credentials to be able to show and prove, and also, uh, again, back to the character and the good name. If someone is doing something of worth, people are going to know about it. So if you have a product or a service that you market to the people are going to tell somebody like, hey, yo, man, if you need your hair cut or if you need your car fixed, go see such and such. You see what I'm saying? Because they know and they become a testimonial in that regard. So there was a protected class of people. There was not a lot of people that were teaching. I just have to be honest. You know it. You know it too, D-Red. You came up, we came up around the same time.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
there wasn't a lot of people that were teaching, and the availability of where which you could go and learn was very, very safeguarded. So if you wasn't around, you could miss a whole entire experience that happened because you wasn't there, you wasn't on the ground, you wasn't put on game, and or somebody seen something in you that they didn't want to mess with. You see what I'm saying? So uh, something like that that's very critical. People in the space that have centers of influence now, especially with this virtual environment, have to be able to have some kind of reference point. You got to be able to go back. You see what I'm saying? Like you can't even get a job uh, without references. They want some references. They want somebody that can vouch for or speak to your character. So, who are these people's references? And what do they truly have to offer to the people? As other than a song and dance. So that's something that's very critical, and some scrutiny has to be placed upon the people who come before our people. So it
And
has to
I,
be somebody that has the best interest of our people at heart.
but see, I'm agreeing with you, and that's why I wanted you on the show because what you said, because you've been doing this as far as being a part of the conscious community longer than most is the reason why I wanted you on the show to address some of this because it's one thing for a brother like our brother ID to address it, and people might not receive it because they may view him a particular way. You see what I'm saying? Or me, you know what I mean? Or some other brothers. But a person like yourself, you speaking out on some of these things and you echoing some of the same sentiments that some of the less popular people may echo will resonate more in the community because see, I'm an advocate of uh, bottom up leadership, meaning you got to come from amongst the people, and the people put you in that position. Not a
Right.
situation where I read 15,000 books and I know I can speak 19 different languages, and so all of a sudden I'm smart and I'm better than you because I read and I think I comprehend everything I read. When, like you said, when because me and you talked offline, and my lineage growing up with my grandmother. being in the
Right.
movement and things like that.
Right.
They didn't care about that. It was more about results. Who can get this
Right.
done?
Right.
Who do we think is best to move us in this particular direction? So what I've seen now is a bunch of intellectual stagnation, from my personal opinion. You know what I mean? Where people, they'll acquire the knowledge, but ain't nobody moving, ain't nobody doing nothing. So
Right.
now, with that being said, I know you probably know where I'm gonna go with this. How do you feel about people being awarded, us people, our people in the so-called conscious community being awarded for that stagnation?
But the people being awarded. So I'm assuming you're speaking about the Black Power Awards.
Correct.
Okay. Now, with the Black Power Awards, that's a situation for me where I see value in the situation. Uh, I say that for a couple of reasons. I see value in the situation because of its potential and because of its premise. So you and I just talk, so I know exactly where you're coming from. You see what I'm saying? And you are definitely right in regards to uh, your thought process about the entire situation. If we are in a state of oppression, in a state of destruction, uh, where do we have the wherewithal uh, to reward destruction, right? You see what I'm saying? So if we look at that, uh, there's an opportunity with the potential and the reach that's surrounding this event to uh, create situations where a change can come about. Some of the changes that we're looking for, some of the initiatives to be funded, some of the transactions and relationships to be fortified based off of this interaction, if it's done in the right spirit. So if we all in the room and we come together with uh, solutions that can fix real issues, then this was a good exchange. You see what I'm saying? But if we came together to where it turns into uh, my hat looks better than your hat, my dashiki look better than your dashiki, my sandals look better than your sandals, then uh, that's not a situation that's fruitful. You see what I'm saying? So if enough people are in that situation to where uh, you whatever the premise is of it, the results are that things are fortified and we got people that are worthy of. I'm not even gonna really say recognition. That the people who can get stuff done are able to meet with the people who can fund it, then that's a great opportunity. And from what I gathered from the situation, some of that is taking place. I will not discount the other things that are that have taken place. So uh, it's everything is with regards to how we see a particular situation, especially one of this magnitude. So we could either uh, look at it critically, or we can leave it alone altogether. You see what I'm saying? Because emotionalism is not going to do nothing but breed um, malefic intent, ego battles, and all this other stuff, and it'd be just like everything else that we have seen thus far uh, in this conscious community, based off of this last 8-year interface.
Okay, I think I don't know what happened with D Red.
No, I'm here. No, I'm here. No, I'm here.
I was just waiting to see if I'm still gonna have my head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After D Red get done, you know.
Nah. You know you my dude, man. You know you my dude, but you know I gotta get again. I gotta get your input, man, because I mean, when you talked, I already told you how I feel. I'm not even. I mean, I don't even know if I should even address that to the people. Maybe I should. You know what I'm saying? I personally, you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I personally feel like it's a waste of time because you know, we getting killed in the streets by each other and by police. We ain't feeding ourselves. We ain't practicing group economics. We not. I mean, we're not taking care of each other for us health care. I mean, it's being held in the city with the highest HIV rate. It's that of a third world country. They the biggest homosexual capital of the world right now. I mean, the ills in our community are too grievous to even be worried about celebrating. And as the brother said on Sister Renee's show, shout out to Sister Renee, uh, they basically want to style and profile, you know, the black carpet and all that. I mean, you'll never see Asians doing that. You'll never see Jews, so-called white European Ashkenazi Jews doing that. You'll never see none of the groups that are actually move as a political body doing that. You know what I'm saying? You don't see La Raza, the group that represents the Mexican Americans. You don't see them doing that. I can keep on going down group after group that is actually moving and shaking and making stuff happen. That their people are actually successful. You know what I'm saying? I don't see them. I mean, they don't have that. They're not worried about that. You know what I mean? And they go back to something my grandma used to always tell me: niggas are caught up in all flash, no substance. You know what I'm saying? And when you see this, and I look at and I compare, like my grandma used to tell me, you compare yourself to shit, you'll always shine. Compare yourself to success to see where you stack up at. So when I compare black people as a whole to these other groups that are successful in practicing group economics and implementing the plans that Dr. Claude Anderson is trying to get us to implement for ourselves, we ain't in no position to celebrate shit. We got work to do. And being the fact that the founder even have a name in Atlanta goes to show you this is going to be another top-down award show, boule award show, where it really don't serve no purpose for the community. So that's my opinion. But
Hey,
go ahead, go ahead.
hey, you know, we didn't talk about this at length, so you know, I'm well aware and I honor and respect your perspective. You know what I'm saying? So most definitely.
But but back to you, knowledge. I mean, I just had to get my input. You know what I'm saying? But so what do you think? Where do you think we need to go as a community? You know what I mean? At this particular point, where do you think we need to go?
I think we need to have a Sankofa. I think we need to really look back and reflect on what was put down by our ancestors. That there's a lot things that are missing because we're not paying attention to them. You know, and most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, of all of our studies, history is most qualified, best qualified, and most attractive to reward our research. How are we going to win tomorrow is a history question. How are we going to attain liberation is a history question. Where do we go from here is a history question. So we get a chance to look at how our ancestors overcame social ills and everything that happened thus far as being products of the diaspora here, and particularly in America, but you know, being products of the diaspora all over the planet, we can effectively gauge and see exactly what they did, and we can implement some of those same strategies. So where it comes into refinement is what's good for us as a collective. It's we have to decide as a collective what our collective goals, aims, and objectives are and what they really look like, and then put a list of priority. What's really a priority? And we have to dedicate ourselves to that particular application, even if it's transgenerational. So we have to come to a type of situation where we are duty bound to be able to uh, put all our efforts in achieving this goal and place that same example in our children and in our children's children, because they're going to be in a position to get it done. You see what I'm saying? We can lay the foundation, the groundwork, and they have to continue on the work. At the end of, after the government completely disbanded and dismantled the Black Panther Party, and those political prisoners went to jail with the onus that someone else was going to continue on the work. So lo and behold, when Aaron Michaels and Dr. Khaled and those brothers got together and they formed a new Black Panther Party for self-defense, instead of those people who had founded the original Black Panther Party saying thank you that somebody else is carrying on the work, it became a contest. You see what I'm saying? It became a contest. So, for 4 years of my life, from 99 to 2002 was spent, going back and forth and looking to see, like, damn, you see what I'm saying? Like, there was no appreciation for someone finding the torch and picking it up and continue to implement based on the need. You see what I'm saying? So with us, we can remedy that mistake by continuing to create spaces and environments and places where we can grow up our children and empower them with the same mission that we are on. You see what I'm saying? We all have to be on one accord with one another. There's divisiveness that's going on, and provocateurism that's going on, and defamation of character that's going on, that is causing division amongst people. So there's a lot of psychological work that has to be done in regards to how we truly see one another. And the core of it is value. When we have a value system, we have a system which we recognize the value within one another and we exchange with that premise. So if you don't see value within yourself, you're not going to see value with anyone who looks like you. So where you place value is basically what you worship. So if you're walking around with dead white men in your pocket, and what you need is these dead white men in order to get what you're charging up this dead energy and taking it on your own. So now your mind frame is, I got to get money no matter what the cost, no matter what I have to do, because this becomes something that rules and governs your life. Your life is ruled and governed around your desires, around what you incline to. So if it's not righteousness, if it's not something of a spiritual nature, if it's not something that is higher than who you are, then you're going to succumb to your lower nature, and you're going to be guided and mastered and used as a tool based on your desire. So if your desire is liberation, if your lower desire and your higher desire is liberation, it doesn't matter what you're doing on the lower, because your mind is already trained towards liberation. And what you're doing in your higher is you calling that liberation into existence. So if you on a job, whatever you're doing, if that liberation mindset is there, then this is what you're going to strive for. So you're going to work, if you're going to college, if you're doing whatever you're doing, that focal point is liberation. So if you're in the church, if you're in the mosque, if you're in the synagogue, if you're on the street corner, every single interaction that you're having is something that is bringing you closer to that goal of liberation. You see what I'm saying? So we have to pick a particular goal. Is something that is greater than all of us, that we all need something that is edifying, something that's beneficial to all of our generations long term that we need to make steps to implement. So that's something that we have to decide as a collective, and it's something that we have to put a plan in place and a strategy by which we're going to attain it. You see what I'm saying? So that's something that we definitely, truly have to re-embrace. So, for me, it's liberation. There's nothing greater than liberation for me. So, uh, every interface, every conversation, every transaction, every relationship that I'm establishing is centered around, is this getting me closer towards liberation or not? That's my measuring stick. You see what I'm saying? So, however that is achieved, and from whichever, however many levels that needs to be obtained, that's something that that's a priority in my life. I can't speak for everybody else. So when we look at it again as a collective, it has to be something that's a goal that we can all together, regardless to our spiritual inclinations, our politics, whatever, we can come together for this common cause and this goal.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Like I said, I know you, so I kind of know where you're gonna be going with what you saying. Uh, bro, I don't think I can say, man. You always drop the heat. Whether we talking on some personal stuff or whether you talking, the knowledge, man. Your name fit. But what do you think is going to be the key to our liberation? And we're gonna close out on this. What do you think is gonna? What do you think is the key to our liberation?
Honoring what our ancestors left us. There's great fights that's out there, and people are going out of their way to, you know, destroy the legacies in which our ancestors left us. Like, uh, uh, you got a Bible. You see what I'm saying? You got a Bible, and that Bible right there is a roadmap. It's a history lesson. It gets you involved uh, with who you are, where you are, what happened to you, if you fail, why you fail, what happened. All of these examples, when you get a comprehensive understanding of our human condition, you get that. And we got people, that's going out of their way, that's having these big contests, trying to steal, your birthright, so to speak, trying to dishonor their ancestors. Name me an ancestor that didn't deal with the Bible. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Name me one. We don't have it. We're not a people who go against cultural norms unless you don't have any. When you no longer have them, anything will do. So we need to embrace these cultural customs and courtesies that align us with our African spirituality, customs, and traditions. We need to return to them. You see what I'm saying? We can find ourselves within ourselves. But you have to be rightly guided back into yourself, because you don't know who you are. You don't know where you came from, so you're not going to know where you're going. So when you get that opportunity to find something that aligns with you, then you add the elements together that's necessary, because you have to be grounded. I hear people say, I don't believe nothing, man, I know. That's not the people I want around me. I don't want nobody around me who don't have belief and who don't have faith. They can go. They can go. Because if you don't believe something, how are you going to know it? It's a process. It's a process for you to begin that journey to want to know. And that's a belief. You see what I'm saying? So even if we're looking at liberation, if you don't believe and have faith that you're going to be liberated, you can forget about it. You can forget about it, because you're not going to do what's necessary to sojourn to that liberation. You're not. Belief and faith allowed our ancestors to be on plantations and subject themselves to all type of torture, tyranny, and oppression. Families lost, family members killed, sold, all of that. So when we get to this place where we think we're bigger than what our ancestors laid down for us, we fall into a situation where there is no avail. If you're not spiritually inclined, if you don't align with the creator and what's going on, you really in error in this day and time, because there's a lot of things that's coming down the pipeline that's going to challenge you. That's going to challenge you. So you have your ancestors, you have those people in your family who sacrifice their life, their livelihood to give you the best that they probably could, and this is what you give them in return, and you wondering why you inheriting what you inherited, because you are not honoring them in the manner in which you're supposed to honor them, and you're not giving credence and oath to the Creator. And this is not something that we do as African people. We don't disrespect our ancestors, and we don't disrespect our Creator. But we got people that are doing these things, and they think they're telling people that they represent us. And the people who don't know no different, we suffer from amnesia based off of this transatlantic slave trade situation. So you don't know who you are. So you got to go to somebody else to find out who you are. And when they tell you who you are, that's what you go with. So when you see, with this period that's going on within the conscious community within this last 8-year period, this is exactly what's happening. There's a battle royal for the hearts and minds of our people, from our people. That doesn't make any sense. For us to be organized and on one accord, we have to be aligned in regards to the attainment of our goals. And those goals start from our foundation. Foundationally, who we are as African people, our character, our way of life, our dealings with one another, how we treat one another, how we found value within one another. And then we can have a conversation where which we can move forward on the same objective. We don't gotta like one another, but we have to see value in one another, because everything that we do either takes us closer to the goal of liberation or takes us back away from the goal of liberation. So if you and I going to spend all day talking about getting something done, we're never going to get anything done. But if we plan, plot, strategize, and see where we agree and see how this goal is best for the collective of our people, we can continue to move forward. So if community outreach is a proponent where we face to face, we had that face to face interface with our people, we look them in their eyes and tell them, hey, look, we love you. We accept you. You're allowed to come amongst us. You see what I'm saying? And that reformation begins with the character. That transformation begins with the character. All of those things happen within, the social ills, the psychological ills, the financial ills, the spiritual ills. All of it starts from within the mind in that determined idea. So what you think about is what you are. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So if I can control what you think about who you are, then I always control who you are. So understanding that and knowing that and garnering that and safeguarding our thoughts and safeguarding our speech and safeguarding what we say, how we say, and who we say it to, and who we say it around, all of these things become critical, because you have to think before you speak. And what I'm about to say, is this something that's going to be beneficial to the person that I'm saying it to, and beneficial for our liberation? So if we did that, we would spend a lot less time talking and a lot more time doing. But they have a connection to one another. speech precedes action. You know, I have 4 children. If I call my children and say, come downstairs for dinner, we're eating. But how did I get them downstairs? I called them. So the spoken word and the application of that spoken word have a connection. So what are we saying to the people that will cause them to act towards our liberation? What are the thoughts that we're having about our liberation? Are we asking our Creator for liberation? Are we asking for the aid of our ancestors in our affairs for liberation? Is liberation on our mind? Or is BT on our mind? You see what I'm saying? So what we're thinking about, you know, metacognition is thinking about what you're thinking about. What are your thoughts? And when you see us as a people, what are the first things that you think? So if it's not a situation that adds value or a space to create value, then we are in error. So if we're not in that liberation mindset that I've been speaking about, then we don't want liberation. We are fine with oppression. We fine with our prison cell. You know, I liken America to a prison, and in those prison cells, uh, you might got a Bentley in your prison cell. You might got a Maybach in your prison cell. You might got a Benz in your prison cell, but you're in a prison cell. You might have a 2-story, 20-acre prison cell, but you're in a prison cell. So it doesn't matter what you have. It matters who you are, because who you are is going to ensure that you get out of this prison and make sure that your children never have to experience this prison. So all of these things come into account and into regard on the action steps that are necessary for our liberation. So we have to agree on that goal, something that we want to achieve, and prepare the people with that liberation mindset to be able to begin the work.
Wow. Okay. That was powerful, man. That was deep. That was deep. Well, man, I ain't gonna hold you. I know you gotta get back to your family, man. And I like to thank you for coming on the show, man, and gracing us with your presence, man. You know, you my dude. You know what I'm saying? My man, 100 grand. People, man, knowledge gonna bring the heat like you always do, man. And I like to thank him for coming on the show. We finna get ready to sign on out. Any closing things you want to say, knowledge?
I definitely appreciate you and the brother for allowing me on the platform. Uh, y'all both know y'all always welcome as guests on Do Knowledge Radio. So if y'all have anything that y'all want to bring forth to the people, it's another resource for the people. You can check us out at www.blogtalkradio.com/Do the Knowledge Radio. That's DOTHAKNOWLEDGERADIO. And and check out our shows. We got over 300 shows. You can check out our website at www.dothenowledgeradio.com. And if you're looking to be a guest, or if someone out there that has products and or skills that you want to bring to market, that you want to get in front of the people, you can email us at dothenowledgeradio@gmail.com, or the contact us section of our website, and leave us a message, and we get back to you in regards to scheduling. And you can also follow the show on Twitter, and that's at KnowledgeBorn15. Again, that's at KnowledgeBorn15. So thank you again for the opportunity, for coming on. Peace, love, and Black Power.
Black Power.
Okay, there you have it, people. family, once again, um, Knowledge Born Allah came in and dropped some very powerful information for you guys. It was a beautiful show. I would like to thank the chat for tuning in. Just like we're on the panel dropping the knowledge, y'all do a beautiful job in the chat room of respecting each other, which is very key to us building and coming to that point of liberation. So I appreciate y'all for keeping it very respectful in the chat and us being respectful on the panel and dealing with each other. That's how we grow. That's how we come together. That's how we build a nation. So, with that being said, like we say over here, it's about family, knowledge, love, and most of all, respect. On that note, peace out.